You forget a name, then lose a thought mid-sentence. You chalk it up to age. But what if I told you? It wasn't age at all. It was something you trusted. A Harvard-backed study found 100% of tested brain supplements contained hidden drugs, some at 4 times prescription strength. And high-dose vitamins? They've been linked to silent memory loss, even dementia. If you're over 60, the next 3 minutes could help you avoid the worst mistake hiding in your supplement drawer. You eat well, you take care of your brain, maybe even take a supplement, thinking it will help protect your memory. But here's what most people don't know after 60. The aging brain changes how it reacts. What once seemed helpful might now be quietly harming your memory. Today, I'll show you 2 healthy supplements that can actually speed up memory loss, and what to use instead to protect your brain safely. As always, talk to your doctor before making changes. Let's begin. 1. Unapproved brain boosters, the hidden drug trap. Frank was 68 when it started. He had always been sharp, a numbers guy. But lately he noticed it was getting harder to follow conversations. Names slipped his mind, and once he found the TV remote in the freezer. So when he saw an online ad for a brain supplement, something promising memory clarity, he clicked. The bottle looked legit, medical-looking font, a gold seal. It said, clinically studied ingredients. He ordered 2. By the second week, Frank didn't feel sharper. He felt foggier. He'd walk into a room and forget why. Conversations trailed off mid-sentence. His daughter noticed, and she brought the bottle to a local pharmacist. And what they found? Well, most people would have never suspected it. The label didn't mention drugs, but inside, it contained pharmaceutical compounds, real ones: vinpocetine, phenibut, ombracetam. These are drugs used in other countries for brain trauma and anxiety. And in that supplement, they were packed in at 4 times the strength of a normal prescription. But Frank had no idea, because they weren't listed in a way the average person would catch. He's not alone. A study from Harvard analyzed popular memory supplements and found that every single one, 100%, contained unapproved pharmaceutical drugs. These aren't nutrients. These are chemical compounds never approved for over-the-counter use in the U.S. Now, here's where it gets dangerous for seniors. After 60, your brain's dopamine production drops, about 6 to 10% every decade. That means your brain becomes more sensitive, not less. So when these synthetic compounds rush in, they don't boost you, they overload you. Think of it like a 4-way stop sign. If every car rushes through at once, the system breaks. That's what happens inside your brain. At first, a little buzz, then traffic jam, misfiring, memory gaps, fog. That's what was happening to Frank. So they stopped the pills, swapped them for blueberries in the morning, turmeric in the afternoon, a slow walk after dinner. 1 month later, he told his daughter something simple, something he hadn't been able to say in weeks. I remember what I came in here for. 2. Iron overload and memory decay. George was always a steak guy, 3 times a week, like clockwork. And ever since turning 70, he'd added a daily men's supplement to stay strong. It had everything: vitamin D, zinc, and a hefty dose of iron. But what George didn't know was that the iron inside that one pill might have been quietly speeding up his memory loss. His energy had dipped. He found himself rereading the same page of a book. Then one morning, he couldn't remember where he parked at the grocery store, and it scared him. He thought it was just age, but inside his brain, something very different was happening. As we age, especially past 60, our bodies become less efficient at regulating excess minerals, like iron. And here's what most people don't realize. Iron doesn't just help with energy. In excess, it acts like fuel for rust inside your brain, literally. There's a reaction inside the body called the Fenton reaction. When too much iron builds up, it reacts with natural hydrogen peroxide in the brain. That sparks the release of free radicals, highly reactive molecules that damage cells, and the first area to take the hit, the hippocampus, the memory center. Think of it like sparks landing on dry leaves. One spark, you're fine. But day after day, they add up, until your memory starts to smolder. A massive UK biobank study in 2023 followed over 90,000 seniors. It found that men taking more than 17.5 milligrams of iron daily had a 49% higher risk of developing dementia, almost half, just from too much iron. And yet, most generic men's supplements offer 18 milligrams or more without ever checking if you need it. Here's the fix. If you're over 60 and not anemic, skip the iron pills. Get your iron from food sources your body can better regulate. Spinach, lentils, pumpkin seeds, even a small portion of beef. Not every day, but once or twice a week. It's not about fear, it's about control. Because when George stopped the pills and focused on food, he didn't just feel clearer, his sleep improved, his morning confusion disappeared. And one afternoon, he parked his car, walked inside, and remembered everything on his list without writing a thing down. Have you ever taken a daily supplement and wondered if it's really helping? You're not alone. And the surprising part, that was just iron. Now imagine what happens when we mix in calcium. 3. Calcium and vascular dementia, women at risk. Elaine was 69 when her doctor suggested adding calcium. Her bone density scan showed early signs of loss, common at her age. So, like many women, she started taking a daily calcium pill, thinking she was protecting her bones. But she had no idea what it might be doing to her brain. 3 months in, she began forgetting words, simple ones. She'd reach for the sugar and say, salt. She'd start a story and forget the ending halfway through. Her daughter thought it was stress, but Elaine had already had a minor stroke the year before, and that changed everything. Here's the part most people miss. After 60, calcium no longer moves through the body the same way. In women, especially those with any history of stroke or high blood pressure, calcium doesn't just go to the bones. It can leak into the bloodstream and lodge in the brain's smallest arteries. Imagine trying to water a garden, but someone's poured cement inside the hose. That's what happens in your brain's microvessels. The flow slows, oxygen drops, and memory fades day by day. A Swedish study in 2016 followed older women over 5 years. Those who had any history of stroke and took calcium supplements had 7 times the risk of developing dementia. 7 times. That's not bone loss, that's memory loss. And it's preventable. So, what can you do? If you're a woman over 60, and especially if you've ever had a stroke, high blood pressure, or mini TIA, avoid calcium supplements unless your doctor insists. Instead, shift to calcium from whole foods, sardines, dark leafy greens, sesame seeds, almonds, and most importantly, get 15 minutes of sunlight each day to activate vitamin D, which helps your body absorb calcium naturally. That's exactly what Elaine did. She swapped pills for food, started walking after breakfast, and 2 months later, her mind felt clearer. She still mixes up words once in a while, but now she laughs it off. Because she knows she's taking care of her brain, not just her bones. Most people never hear this part. They're told, take your calcium, it's good for you. But after 60, it depends who you are and what your brain's been through. And next, we'll talk about one of the most misunderstood nutrients of all, vitamin E. 4. Vitamin E, when antioxidants turn pro-oxidant. Marla had always been health conscious. She bought organic, took her vitamins, and for years, she never missed her daily capsule of vitamin E. She read it helped protect the brain. She wanted to stay sharp, clear, independent. But a few months after starting a new high-dose version, things felt different. She'd open the fridge and just stand there. She'd reread messages, even forget if she replied. She blamed stress at first, but deep down, something felt off. And that's when she asked her doctor a simple question. Is it possible to have too much of a good thing? For years, vitamin E was seen as a golden ticket, an antioxidant, brain protective, cell repairing. But what most people don't realize is that after a certain dose, vitamin E doesn't help, it turns. Inside the brain, antioxidants like vitamin E are supposed to balance free radicals, but when taken in high doses, especially over 400 IU, vitamin E becomes what's called a pro-oxidant. Instead of neutralizing damage, it starts creating it. It's like installing a high-powered security system that malfunctions and starts randomly zapping the walls. Your neurons don't just suffer, they burn out faster. A meta-analysis from Johns Hopkins looked at over 136,000 people. It found that high-dose vitamin E, anything above 400 IU per day, was associated with a 5% increase in overall mortality. That's not just memory, that's life expectancy. And yet, many senior targeted supplements still include 600, even 1,000 IU of vitamin E, often without any warning. So, what should you do? Skip the capsules. Instead, focus on food-based sources that give you just enough, without tipping the balance. Sunflower seeds, almonds, spinach, avocado, and yes, even olive oil. These foods offer vitamin E in the way your body understands it. Slow, balanced, absorbed alongside other nutrients. That's what Marla did. She swapped the pills for a handful of almonds in her morning yogurt, and within weeks she felt less foggy, more herself. She even said, "I feel like the lights are back on." It's easy to believe more is better, but especially after 60. Your brain plays by different rules, and sometimes the very thing meant to protect you just needs a smaller dose or a better source. You've been told these supplements are safe, that they'll help your memory, that more is better. But the truth is, after 60, your brain plays by a different rule book. Frank thought he was boosting his focus, and it backfired. George just wanted more energy, and ended up feeding the rust. Elaine followed advice to protect her bones, and almost lost her clarity. And Marla, she trusted the label, like most of us do. They all meant well, but their brains told a different story. Here's what matters now. It's not about fear, it's about knowing the terrain. Because your aging brain is sensitive, yes, but also incredibly resilient when you give it the right inputs. And sometimes that means removing the things you thought were helping. So, before you take your next supplement, pause. Ask, do I really need this? Is there a food that could do the same job better? Because your brain isn't just managing memories, it's managing your identity, your independence, your connection to the people you love. It remembers birthdays. It recalls the smell of your first home. It holds the sound of your grandson's laughter. Your brain deserves care, not clutter. And if anything in this video made you stop and think, I'd love to hear what surprised you the most. Drop it in the comments. Your story might help someone else. And if you want more research-backed ways to protect your brain, your body, and your independence, tap subscribe. You've got a good mind. Let's help keep it that way.